Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, A Caffeinated Mommy. I'm Taína, aka Ty. I don't know which one I want to go by, Ty, Taína. Let me know down below if you think either of them I should stick with for my channel. For today, right now, I thought I wanted to share my birth story. Everyone has their own birth story, everyone has their own experience, everyone is different, and I really do believe that because prior to giving birth, when I was just pregnant, I heard the gamut of stories, from things that were super easy, a couple hours, out came baby, to like the long and triumphing ones, you know, the ones that really challenge you, that scared me. And so I don't want to say mine was super easy because it totally wasn't, but I'm not going to say it was the worst story or experience ever. I'm just somewhere in the middle, and I want to share my experience. And I'm also kind of doing this as a therapeutic moment, just so that, oh, it's going to start, just so that I can accept it more. So let me just do a little recap of my pregnancy and then what I wanted for my birth story and what I got. So for those that know, I am 36 years old. We have been trying to conceive for about 2 years. I did not want to do fertility treatments. I just wanted to have fun with my fiance, and when it happened, it would happen, but it wasn't happening for a very long time. Everything was apparently running right, but just not executing itself. At the time when I conceived, I will say I went from a very high stress job, high stress in every sort of the means, to getting laid off and deciding to go part-time because we were financially able to do so. And within 2 months of being part-time at my current job that I'm still at, we conceived. So I'm not knowing if it was the stress that wasn't letting me out, but I will say that the timing worked out where it looked like decreasing my stress at my job helped significantly because I do have a very physical job. So, pregnancy was not easy for me. I had all of those classic symptoms. I was nauseous and morning sickness, but my nausea and morning sickness were not just in the mornings, they were all day long. I felt like blah for my entire length of my pregnancy. Okay, so that's the first thing. That whole thing like, oh, it's just in the morning and it's just in the first trimester, that wasn't true for me. It was the entire time. I started having some food aversions, not many that I would, really say like, oh my God, I didn't like, eating chicken or something like that. I really didn't have that part. The aches and pains that the body goes through, had all of that as well. I survived my nausea on Cheez-Its. I am sick of looking at, I could not even eat a Cheez-It right now, but Cheez-Its I was eating by the box full by the day because I would eat them in order to suppress my nausea. It was that bad. My doctor did put me on a nausea suppressant medication that did help, but I wasn't a big fan of taking anything during my pregnancy. I am kind of a holistic mindset, but let me tell you, that holistic mindset goes like to the back burner when you're very uncomfortable. I'm going to say that. What else? I lived on Cheez-Its and pickles and chocolate milk. I don't know what about those items that made me love them so much, but pickles, yum, 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 chocolate milk, drinking it by the gallon, loved it. That was that. I did gain weight in a steady manner. That was good. And I will say that, like I said, I'm 36 years old, so I was a high-risk pregnancy. So they made me go to the perinatologist for certain extra blood panels and things like that to rule out chromosomal conditions, neuro conditions, and like a few extra ultrasound scans to make sure that baby was growing in a normal manner. My last trimester, I will say I had the most enormous amount of heartburn in my life. Now, I didn't even know previous to pregnancy what heartburn was. The first time I had it, I was like, we have to go to the doctor. Like, oh my God, I have like these hot bubbles in my throat. Like, what is this? This is brand new. And Miguel was sitting there, like I was at the top of the stairs and I was like screaming this to him, like, this isn't normal, like what I'm feeling here. And he was laughing at me. He was just like, really, Ty? Like, you've never experienced heartburn? Like, that just sounds like heartburn. And I'm like, that's what this is? Like, yuck! Because this was disgusting. And it was worse when I laid down. So I was like kind of sleeping in like a reclined position, but I don't sleep in that position, so it was just so uncomfortable. And I remember taking Tums and like the Alka-Seltzer tablets to like suppress it, and they did help a little bit, but I was taking them like Skittles. And I remember on one appointment I did go to my doctor, and I was just like, you know, I'm having like this severe heartburn like all day long, and when I, especially at night, and when I lay down and it's disgusting. And I was like, you know, how many Tums should you be taking a day, you know, kind of thing, just to ask, you know, to ask. And she said 4. And I was like, haha, like 4 per meal or whatever. And she was like, no, 4 like total for the day, Ty. Yeah, I was like, that's funny. Like, I take way more than 4. so so they put me on I guess pregnancy friendly like acid heartburn medication. It started with the letter P. I can't remember the name of it. And that helped so much to bring that down and for me to just kind of like live day to day. I carried my pregnancy for the full 40 weeks, actually to the date that Latina was born. So that's kind of a nice thing. Like I was expecting for it to go shorter for some reason. So I was very happy that it went to 40 weeks. I will say I did have, like I said, like labor anxiety. Labor anxiety to like the umpteenth level. Like if I had to say the word labor, I cried. And like if I had to describe like my fears, I was crying. The idea of labor scared the bejesus out of me. I didn't know what to expect. I heard about all the pain. I'm not good with pain. And I was petrified of going into labor. And through friends, I was told that maybe I should consider getting a doula. We did get a doula to help with everything kind of previous to delivery, and she helped during delivery, which I love her for. And then afterwards, we do have kind of like a session or two of follow-up and like coming by and things like that. So we decided to get a doula for me. And it was a good experience and good for me, like looking back on it. Like I love that we got a doula. So for those of you who don't know, a doula is kind of like having like a birth assistant to help you physically, emotionally, mentally, all these kind of things because of like how experienced they get. It's almost like having a midwife, I would think, but like it's just kind of like your birthing coach with your, you know, fiance or, you know, baby daddy or whatever you have going on. So it was also like a partner for Miguel when the time came. But prior to it, she had a few like sessions with us where I would talk through like my anxiety and my fear, and like I was just afraid of the worst case scenario, and that's all I would think, like just worst case scenario, just stuff that could go wrong but not normally, but I had heard of friends that had it and it scared me to death. So we did work through that with her. So glad I do. So that I was a little bit more prepared. And when I wanted in my birth plan, so here we go with that part, I wanted my doula and obviously Miguel in the room. I did not want to get, what was it? Any of like the medications at first, like the Pitocin and everything else. Like I didn't want to be induced into labor. And there was a few of the like initial vaccines for the baby that I wanted to like halt on having until I went to the pediatrician. I did not want a C-section unless it was medically necessary. Like I wanted to do labor and I wanted all of that. And there was like two other things that I forgot that okay, so when it came down to my birth plan for labor, I'll have it all like printed already. I just wanted Miguel and my doula Delaney in the room with me, and that was it. Like I didn't want my mom or his mom or anyone else in the delivery room. I did want an epidural if at whatever point it was during labor that I really couldn't handle the pain. So for me, at first, I didn't want to have it. Like epidural, I was like, no, I'm a strong woman. I'm going to do this. I don't want an epidural unless I absolutely need to. And Miguel, please be the gauge when I say, give me the drugs, give me the drugs. So that was a part of it. I did not want to have an episiotomy as well. I would have liked to have naturally tear down there, if you know what I mean, because I just read that the healing process, if you got nipped or clipped, was a little bit harder than if it were to tear naturally from delivering your baby. I did not want a C-section unless absolutely medically necessary. I wanted to do labor, I wanted to push, I wanted to experience all of that. Then about like, you know, my partner cutting the umbilical cord and things like I wanted to breastfeed in the hospital immediately. I wanted skin to skin contact. I wanted that, how they called it, like that bonding hour for me and my child. And I didn't want to give formula unless I provided it, and again, B, if it was medically necessary, because I did want to try my fullest on breastfeeding my child. And then for some of the vaccines in the hospital, I wanted them to be delayed and not given like immediately after she was born. And that was kind of like the highlights of it. So let's go into labor. She delivered the day she was due. So it was Thanksgiving. I enjoyed Thanksgiving. I was 9 months pregnant. I was due in a day, and I was at Thanksgiving enjoying everything, because I always tease like it would be a great birth story if like my water broke as I'm eating like turkey and we had to put everything in Tupperware and like head to the hospital. No, I got to enjoy Thanksgiving with my family. I ate until I had a coma probably, let's be honest, okay? So I enjoyed Thanksgiving. It was the next day, so Black Friday shopping. Not that I had more like things planned to go Black Friday shopping, but I maybe wanted to do a little bit. But no. Life had a different story for me, because I started having contractions at 3 a.m. And it was a light one, and we didn't think it was a contraction. We were thinking maybe it's Braxton Hicks. Miguel tells me to go back to bed. Fine. 3 a.m. So then I had like another one of those bouts at like noon, and I was like, ooh, like that just feels so weird. Like what was that? Braxton Hicks, babe, it's okay, relax, be fine. All right. 3 p.m. comes, and that's when I had my first full contraction, where I screamed for Miguel like so loud from the master bedroom, because that's where I was like just chilling. And that was like the first big one. And I was like, oh my God, like this is it. And like, it was just no holding back, because she should have been due like the next day. So I was bound to start having labor contractions. So we wanted to make some comfort food, because we were told before you go to the hospital and everything else, like obviously eat and shower, because you're not going to eat when you get to the hospital, and you're not going to shower until like after a day or two after she's born. So you're just going to be prepared for that. So I tried to shower, let's just say that, and we tried to eat. Miguel made comfort food. I was all about the grilled cheese sandwich and tomato soup. Let's just say I never ate the full grilled cheese sandwich and that tomato soup. Like my contractions went from like 0 to 100 in a matter of like 30 minutes. They weren't like hour apart or a couple hours apart. Like they just went from boom, I had one, and I had one again in like 28 minutes. It was hilarious. So, and they hurt. Woo! They hurt, I'm not gonna lie. We downloaded a app, and I will link it down below if I can remember. I think it was just called like contractions or something, in order to like to kind of time them. Now here's my story on this. When you go to those classes and they're all like, oh, your contractions will last for about 60 seconds and then have a time of rest, and then you'll have one for 60 seconds. Anyone can do anything for 60 seconds, right? They try to tell you like you can plank for 60 seconds, you can like run fast for 60 seconds, you can do anything for 60 seconds because you'll have a time to rest afterwards. That was not my experience. My contractions lasted like anywhere between like 2 and 6 minutes. What the heck? They were like so long. Like, you know, Miguel would have the app, or I would have the app, like, you know, and start it when they first crept up, and then you're supposed to hit it no, so that you knew like how long and then how much time has gone between them. They would dull down, but they would like rise back up and like dull down, but like I was having it for so long. Oh my God. And when I was in one, I would be bullet sweating and in pain, and then I would be freezing as soon as the contraction ended and I was just in my house. Like I would just be extremely cold. They were intense. I was doing everything possible to distract myself. I was counting. I was doing that Lamaze breathing, but man, oh man, like that, when they're in there, oh my God, it hurts. And I had to start remembering like to relax my face, because I would clench up so much, like, and like in the pain, when really like the breathing is supposed to like settle you down and like blank it off, and like, you know, you can get through it and there's an end in mind, and like you look like a zombie, like possessed when you're doing this. I was singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star repeatedly in order to like distract myself. And when Miguel got sick and tired of Twinkle Twinkle, Twinkle Little Star, I started singing Old MacDonald Had a Farm. And I could only remember 3 animals. That was it. It was a duck, it was a cow, and what was the other one? A duck, a cow, and maybe a dog. I think a dog, like, and at first too, he was like, why can't you remember another animal? And I was like, why can't you? Because in the moment, woof woof, meow, or whatever. Oh, see, a cat. I mean, you are batshit crazy during contractions. So this was my, what they called like, not to say active labor, it's the one before, it's that pre-labor part where they don't want you going to the hospital until like they're 4 minutes apart for 1 minute for 1 hour. And again, this was not my experience. Like once they were like 15 minutes apart, I was like, all right, we gotta go. You know what I mean? Like, because they were getting so quickly together that I never had any time of rest. That was what was key. And our hospital was like a good 10-minute drive. So in my head, based on the app, like I was having them every 5 minutes and they would last for 5 minutes. And I was like, this car ride is going to be horrendous. Horrendous. And it was. And I was squeezing his hand and I was screaming, twinkle, twinkle, little star in the car. And like Miguel was like, Ty, you need to bring it down a notch, babe. I love you, but like I can't drive with you screaming because you're making me nervous, kind of thing. And so I would sit there and was like, no. You know what I mean? Mind you also, my doula was with me at the house until they were like, when they were 8 minutes or 15 minutes apart or so. So she was with me. And we did a lot of like changing positions. There was like pressure points in my pelvis that she was helping. She definitely reminded me all the time to relax my face because it was just intense. So we get to the hospital. Honestly, when we arrived there, I was like, I was already tired from doing this. Tired that we arrived and like every nurse had asked me like, oh my God, you're in pregnant labor, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, epidural, 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 please. Because like I'm tapping out. Like she got me. Like Valentina wins. Like this kid is kicking my butt. Please give me the injection. Like I can't do this. So here's the surprise with that. Got to the hospital, get admitted, blah, blah, blah. They had to give me like a liter's worth in the IV of fluids before you're even able to get the epidural. They have to make sure that you're hydrated. That IV takes like 45 minutes to get into your system. So I was still having contractions. They hook you up though. And I remember my amazing nurse named Kathy was like, oh look, oh Ty, your contractions are clustered. You heard that? Clustered. Meaning exactly what I was going through. They would peak and you would see it on the computer screen, and then it would kind of taper down, but then it came back up, and then it never went like fully down to give me like relief. And she's like, wow, that's so rare. Gee, thanks. I'm having cluster contractions my entire labor. Oh my God. Now you can understand why I was like, epidural. I couldn't. Like I was like all like strong and like I got this. Nope. They won. So, oh my God. To get the epidural, these cluster contractions, okay? You have to stay still. You have to stay hunched over. You cannot move or else they cannot give you the epidural. And if you have the epidural, it's a scary looking syringe that goes in your back. Oh my God. So the fact that I had to like literally bite down on a leather strap and like my pillow, and I had my fiance's hands in my thing and I was hunched over like this and getting it and singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star at the top of my lungs to get it in. And I did get it in and I did get it. And what a game changer. Not to say it's for everyone, but like that helped me significantly. Like I had the epidural and I was good. You could see on the computer still when they were coming like the bumps of like contraction. Oh, there's a cluster. Oh, they're 5 in freaking row. And then it would die down and they're all like, you're not feeling anything, Ty? You're not feeling it? I'm like, no. Was that one? Was that? Thank you, epidural. Okay, so second thing that happened. I became fully dilated to 10 centimeters within like 2 hours. They were impressed by that. I entered, I think, at 3 or 4 when they first got in there. And within 2 hours of going through this, I was fully dilated. The problem was that my pelvis never opened and baby never dropped. So baby was still like all up high in my uterus and in my stomach or whatever. So I wasn't accommodating. So that whole point from active labor to transition labor, I never went through. I don't know why. You know, it's still like an anomaly on why things occur for some women and not others. So, like I said, my pelvis never like accommodated, like it got wider for a baby's head to like drop down into like your pubic region or pubic zone area where they could like feel her head right there. Like they were still, you know, hand all in there. Like, nope, she hasn't dropped yet. And they tried me in different positions. Honestly, we did that whole incline, not incline. This was previous to the epidural, when I would walk around, be on the yoga ball, you know, on hands and feet, or knees and hands, or however you say that, squatting, all those things. We did it all, and none of it made a bit of a difference down there. So they inclined me for a while and hoping that it would go in. They made me do like a test push for to see if like maybe just the pressure would help like move everything along and like drop her down. And when I test pushed a little bit, her heart rate crashed. They told me to stop pushing. Then they were trying to put me on like my sides and stuff. And when I was on one side for a while, helping things along, it was good. When I went to the other side, her heart rate crashed again. So they got me out of that position. So here we are, and they're just like, now too, my water had broke for already a couple hours. Like, total for my labor and delivery was like 19 hours. Like, kid you not, it was 19 hours. Oh my God. And at some point there, like earlier on, they're just like, you know, you're going to need a C-section. Like, we need to get your baby out, Ty. Like, you gave it a good try. You're not, nothing's changing. She hasn't dropped. And the C-section, again, scared me so much. I started crying. I was like, no, give me time. I need more time. She'll do it. I can do this. More time. Bless her heart. She did give me more time. I think she still let me be there for like maybe 2 more hours or so, like just trying different things to see if it would come, and she would come and check me. Oh, and mind you, so let me tell you a little bit back to entering the hospital. Remember, it was Thanksgiving weekend. You build up a relationship with your OBGYN. When I got to the hospital, I was informed that my OB was on vacation for the holidays and that I had backup OB on duty. Excuse me? Where's my doctor? No, see, that's funny. Call her. Get her here. What? Backup doctor? Oh, she doesn't know me. She doesn't know what I've been going through. She doesn't know what I want. What? Backup doctor. Oh my God. So again, when she came in, she's like, we're just going to do a C-section, Ty. I was like, oh. No, you're not, woman. It's not part of my plan. I don't want a C-section. Get away from me. Get out of my room. Yeah. That's just, not the same. That's not what I wanted. So I had to have a C-section. It's just not what I wanted. So they're prepping Miguel. They're prepping me. I get rolled into there first, and they're having to do whatever injection it is so that you don't feel anything, you know, from your chest down. My anesthesiologist, I'll always remember her. She had like a Minnie Mouse kind of voice. Like, she talks so squeaky and so like this, and it drove me kind of nuts when you've been in pain all day long. I just didn't want it. There's nothing wrong with them. I just wanted to have a natural childbirth. I think I threw myself into shock because with the medication, like my hands were like trembling and my mouth was trembling. Like I couldn't even talk. Like Miguel came and I was just like, you know, and they strapped me down and I'm like talking and I'm chattering and my teeth are, I can hear my teeth in my own ear. Like that's how scared I was. We started singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star again, just to distract me, and I was holding his hand. Like I said, it's just not what I wanted. But Valentina was delivered healthy and fine. Gil took some pictures. He didn't get to cut the umbilical cord once you have a C-section, so that was not an ability. I was still shaking and everything else. Oh, and that was half of it too. Whenever baby was ready to leave the operating room, I wanted someone with her. So Miguel had to go. And I think that's also like when I got so much like anxiety and shock and fear, because I was then alone in this really cold room and they had to like sew you back together, which took like an extra 30 minutes. And that's when I started shaking more and trembling more and going into like just, I guess, not accepting it. My anesthesiologist was very nice. Stayed with me, held my hand, you know, cut petted me, relaxed me as much as she could. It hurt. It hurt. It hurts. For those that have had a C-section, it hurts. So they rolled me back into the room. Don't get me wrong, my in-laws were there. They had baby Valentina. She was perfect. She was born 6 pounds, 6 ounces, 19 inches long, 6 pounds, 6 ounces on 11/25 at 9:30 in the morning. I was in labor for 19 hours. And when they gave her to me, you just fall in love. She was so tiny. You can hear her in the crib. I'll get her in a minute. But yeah, I got to breastfeed. She latched on beautifully. That was great. I think we had to stay an extra day in the hospital because of the C-section, and they were checking vitals like every 2 hours. I was in pain. They gave me like a little like Velcro waist, faja thing to wear to kind of keep you nice and tight. They had me walking within a day of doing that. Valentina was perfect. Nothing wrong with that. But I was on pain meds while I was at the hospital, like a lot of pain meds. And when I got home from the hospital, like I still had to be on them for like a week because I couldn't move without excruciating pain. Couldn't even do a sit-up. Like I wasn't allowed to drive for like 4 weeks. I wasn't allowed to go up and down the stairs. And we bought a townhouse. We have a townhouse. So it was either camp upstairs, Ty, or camp downstairs, but you're not going back and forth. And I had dogs, like I had to walk the dogs, and I just couldn't walk the dogs. And I couldn't even pick up baby. So anytime I needed to breastfeed her or something, like Miguel had to bring me the baby, breastfeed, and then I would clean her up, or blah, 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 and then give her back so I can get out of bed. Like getting out of bed was hard, getting out of a chair was hard. Whew, it was just hard. Opening week. I don't think I slept for that whole week. Yeah, that's true. You don't sleep. And so, yeah, it was... Okay, so, like I said, everyone's story is their own. The more I share it, the easier I get at not like breaking down and crying, because believe me, the first couple times of telling like my closest friend or whatever else, I was emotional wreck still. Like the hormones are true. Like you're just crying all the time on a dime. And when I had her for that first week in the hospital and then home for like the last 2 days of that week, I was crying so much, like every little thing. Like it was either something cute and I would cry, or something hard and I would cry. And you're just an emotional basket case for a while. So, like I said, it wasn't the perfect thing for me. It didn't go according to plan, but I have a beautiful, healthy baby girl that I am in love with so much. She's just perfect. She's waking up. I have to go get her. Hold on 1 minute. Okay, so I have a beautiful baby girl. She's perfect. She's growing. Everything about it is just the most endearing experience to go through. And so when I may not love my experience and my birth story and how I got her, she's here. I held her for all 9 months, 40 weeks, proudly, even though I wasn't always super fun. But I wouldn't change it for anything in the world, because I'm hoping that someone else can share with something similar and just know what it's like. It's still tender. I'm starting to put like Mederma on my scar. I'm like waist training, so wearing like a supportive like faja to keep everything tight, because your body's just definitely different now. There's just different squishy areas and things, but it doesn't matter. Like I've learned to be easier on myself, not so hard on myself, not so perfect on myself, because at least I have a daughter, and nothing gets better than that. Like I have a daughter finally. I've wanted it for so long, and now she made me a mommy. So maybe if I'll do like an anniversary video when she's like a year old to tell my story again, we'll see if I'm a little bit more together. Maybe I should do that, like just a year from now on her first birthday, like tell your story again, Ty. And like I said, hopefully it's easier on my heart, because it just pulls on my strings a little bit. Like I said, like just kind of this, how scared I was and how I was scared. I had anxiety and I was scared, and those are two wicked combinations together. But yeah. So thank you for sharing a little bit of time with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, give this video a thumbs up. Please hit the subscribe button down below and that little bell next to it so you get notifications on my next video. Thank you so much for joining me. Muchos besos.